What's going on, Shady people? ShadyPenguinn here, welcoming you back to Talk to May, or actually welcoming you to technically the first video, the first day of Talk to May, where we're going to be uploading every single day, having one of these sit-down types of talks on a topic that you guys influence or that I pull out of my head, whatever it may be. I was actually going to talk about something different today, but I decided that topic was a little heavy for day one of Talk to May, but we will get to that topic eventually this month. Instead, we're going to talk about something that was suggested by one of you beautiful shady people. Of course, don't be afraid to leave suggestions down below. I have 30 days to talk to you guys about whatever you want. And I won't have enough content myself. I won't be able to think of enough ideas to fill up all 30 of those days. So definitely leave your suggestions down below. For example, this comment right here was left by Micah, who says, I'm curious about your take on what love romance means to you as a person. This could or could not be directly connected to your marriage. I mainly ask this because I've lived a life as a stereotypical nerd who hasn't been in a romantic relationship or even much of anything like that. While I've gotten into casually dating, I'm still dealing with past insecurities of telling myself I will be forever alone. Ironically, I'm building a successful career as a grad student in marriage and family therapy. Frankly, I have a lot of reasons to not feel uncomfortable with this. I would just like some fresh ideas. I guess the short of it is, how does one manage having a love life when you're super busy, have passions outside of a love life, and you have insecurities holding you back? Again, any version of this that you feel comfortable talking about would be really cool. Been loving your content since 2014. Well, Micah, thank you so much for being a longtime shady person. That's 4 years. That is a really long time. 100%. Now, I'm going to try to break down your comment, but basically the focus, it seems like, of this is how do you balance being nerdy? I'm going to call it nerdy. Maybe that's not what you meant, but having, did you use the word nerd at some point? I feel like you did, unless I just interjected that. Yes, stereotypical nerd. Sweet. Awesome. So, stereotypical nerd, and having like a romantic love life. Now, I'm going to preface this, and I probably will have to do this every single day when it comes to advice like this. I am not a professional. I am not a doctor. I have not studied. For example, Micah is studying marriage and family therapy, which is so incredible, so awesome, Micah. But I have not done that. I'm just going to speak from my experience, my life, a little bit of a story time, and let you know how things were for me. As you guys know, I am married. I'm married, and I'm a nerd. And a lot of people go, Shady, how'd you do that? How does that happen? And I guess I'll talk about it. Let's backtrack a bit though before Sarah, because something in your comment says you've never been in a romantic relationship or much of anything like that. So let me give you guys brief history of my love life before Sarah. I had one real girlfriend that I dated for 2.5 years. It was a serious relationship. Maybe it was just a little over 2 years. I'm trying to think. Graduated 2009. 2011. Yeah, okay. So just over 2 years, about 2 years and a couple months we dated. And I was very serious about this girl. I really cared about her. We cared about each other. But I mean, in retrospect, you can always see the flaws in the relationship, especially on my part. I was super, oh man, I was a hot mess. I was very, you speaking of insecurities, I was very insecure in that relationship. That's not the topic of today's video, talking about that past relationship. So just let you know, you can overcome your insecurities. Sometimes it takes going through a relationship like I did, and then being able to see the aftermath and saying, oh my gosh, I was so insecure. And that insecurity actually did bleed into the beginning of my relationship with my now wife. But after a couple months, mainly, jealousy, that was the biggest thing. And then insecure about certain things about myself, my body and what have you. But those bled off after a couple months. Once the summer rolled around, when Sarah and I were first dating, because we started dating in January, so it was middle of winter, so I didn't have to take my shirt off to go to the beach or nothing. It was great. But anyway, insecurities are a very real thing. You shouldn't feel ashamed of having them. They are. You're studying therapy, so you understand that there's things you have to learn how to love yourself. That's the number one thing you can do for any relationship, and that kind of ties into your original question of like, how do you balance having passions outside of a relationship? A lot of people think that as soon as you get into a serious relationship, that's it. And it happens a lot. You've probably seen it with your friends. If you're older, or maybe if you're younger, I don't know how it works these days, but someone gets a new girlfriend and all of a sudden they ghost you. They are gone. Like, you don't see them for months because they are, any free time they have goes to their partner, that individual who they're with, boy, girl, whatever. They spend all their time and they make them their top priority. I will tell you this, for Sarah and I, when we first started dating, we saw each other a lot for the first 2-ish months, I think. But I remember literally saying, Sarah, we need to see each other less, because I learned in my previous relationship that I was just spending it for me. Now, this, like I said, this is my experience. This isn't going to be for everyone, but for me, I was spending too much time with my previous girlfriend, and it salted our relationship. It damaged it for sure. Spending time apart, the phrase absence makes the heart grow fonder is not just malarkey. It's not just made up. It's because a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people do experience that. When you do spend time apart, you want to be together. It's pretty much typical human nature of wanting what you can't have. It's pretty common. So when it comes to getting into a serious relationship, understand that doesn't have to be your end all be all. Now I'm married to Sarah now. Now she is my wife, and she is my top priority when it comes to taking care of her, when it comes to providing for her. That is my top priority. However, sometimes, so my heart wants to spend all the time I can with Sarah. However, I understand that by doing that, I would actually be neglecting my responsibility to provide for her and to care for her. Sometimes we think that just what we feel we want to do is the best thing. Just like when you start a relationship, you don't want to not spend every free moment with them. And like I said, for 2 months, we were together pretty much daily, 100%. But then we put the brakes on and said, all right, let's spend 3 days a week together. On the other 4, we'll focus on our schoolwork. She was in school at the time. I was working 70 hours. I was working 60, 70 hours a week at the supermarket. So we had enough distance between us. And I think that's very healthy, because what that ends up doing is you Micah, you mentioned having these other passions, being a stereotypical nerd that's passionate about gaming. Maybe you're passionate about comics, whatever that looks like for you, whatever you're passionate. Maybe you're passionate about music, an instrument, whatever. If you constantly think that you need to prioritize her or him, the other partner in your relationship, you actually could potentially end up damaging that relationship. And even more so than that, you might end up starting to resent that person because you're missing all those things that you enjoy, those hobbies. So a very tangible way to balance being a stereotypical nerd or having hobbies and passions, like for me, YouTube is a huge passion of mine, is to speak with that person once you're settling into a serious relationship after however many weeks, months, whatever that looks like for you. Speak to that person and say, hey, this is the amount of time I like to spend doing this thing. There was a long time when I started YouTube. So I didn't start YouTube till Sarah and I were already dating. We started dating in 2012. So I started uploading in YouTube in 2013. So after like a year and a half of us dating, I uploaded my first video. And then I started doing it consistently at the end of 2013 in the fall, when X and Y came out. So there were times though, when I was recording, she was sitting on my bed in my bedroom and just hanging out. That's actually where, if you're old time Shady person, you know, I'd always go, it's a crit. And I'd look over, I was literally looking at her and saying it's a crit. So a little shady trivia for you in case you didn't know that. But you can share moments of those hobbies, but then there are times, and there were times where it was just, babe, I need to go record. I'm gonna spend the night recording alone. Have fun hanging out with your friends, do whatever you're gonna do. Having that separate time and making sure you both get to nurture your individual interests. There are some couples that they have the same interests. I actually have Sarah's godmother and her husband. They are into a lot of the same things, like Dungeons and Dragons. They're into role playing and all this stuff. So they have common shared interests and common shared time. And that's very, very important to do. Even though Sarah and I's passions, we have a lot of different passions. We have some similarities where we like to enjoy the same shows. We enjoy hanging out with the dog and whatever it may be, spending a lot of time with family. We get that time together, and that's very important to have that time. But it's also important in my mind to have that time apart to nurture your individual interests. I think a relationship is healthiest when both partners have their own things going on and then have common interests. Kind of like you have A, B, and then C when they come together. Now, C doesn't always have to be the same things. C could be you talking about A, talking about B, together and being genuinely interested in each other's hobbies, even though you're not partaking in them. You just the passion someone else has. Sarah has very little idea about Pokemon, very little idea about Yu-Gi-Oh, but she knows I'm passionate about it. So if I'm talking about a game or talking about a video or talking about comments, she listens and she's genuinely interested. And that's what's really gonna propel a healthy relationship. Doesn't matter if you're a nerd, doesn't matter if you're a jock, doesn't matter if you're a musician. It really doesn't matter. You could be a rocket scientist or a janitor. That doesn't matter. It's about genuinely caring about what the other person is interested in order to feel like, hey, I can nurture these hobbies and still have a relationship with someone, a successful relationship. Now, there's going to be times when you get into a relationship and your partner does not support your hobbies. My personal opinion, honestly, if you fall for a person that does not support who you are, if you've found who you are already and you know the things that you enjoy and they're healthy, they're not self-destructive. There's a difference where if your partner doesn't like you, like smoking coke, if that's your hobby and they're like, I don't like that hobby, you're not justified by saying, well, you just don't like who I am. That's not how it works. There's a difference between self-destructive habits and then just your hobbies and your passions. That's very, very different. So, and side note, your healthy habits can become self-destructive if you spend too much time doing them. If you spend 16 hours a day doing your hobby and then you never see your significant other, yes, they have every right to be angry at you and to leave you for sure. But if you find a person where you're giving them time, you feel like you're giving them enough time, or you've agreed on some form of days you're seeing each other, but they like poke fun at the things you enjoy or make you feel bad for enjoying those things specifically, that's the beginning of a very unhealthy relationship. Sarah never once made fun of me for liking cards, for playing Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon or Magic or whatever. She's never like tried to make me feel bad about my interests, because that's a little bit of an immaturity thing. And you mentioned insecurities. I for the longest time growing up, I had mentioned that I only had one serious girlfriend before my wife. I was very insecure about my nerdiness, especially around the opposite sex. Since for me, I'm attracted to girls, I always wanted to hide how nerdy I was. I didn't want people knowing I was playing Pokemon. I literally remember I stopped playing Pokemon in 4th gen, even though 4th gen is like my favorite generation or one of my favorite generations. I stopped because I didn't want people to know. And then when Black and White came out, I think I hid that Black and White. Was it Black and White? Maybe it was Diamond and Pearl that I was hiding that I was playing it. I was playing it like literally wouldn't even tell my friends at that point that I was still playing Pokemon. It was bad. Those insecurities exist. So like they could be physical insecurities, they could be insecurities about your hobbies, but it's very important, like I said before, to learn how to love yourself. And that's not easy. That's not something that happens overnight, but you know, Micah, from studying that it comes from understanding that at the end of the day, you have to be happy with who you are. If there's something that's bothering you for you, then instead of doing nothing about it and just sulking about it, you have to try to make steps towards it. For example, for me, one of my biggest insecurities right now is my body type. I've gained, I know a lot of you guys, and please don't leave comments like you look fine. I get that. I understand that. But that's exactly what I'm talking about. For the longest time, people would say, oh, you look fine, you're fine. You don't need to try to lose weight. You don't need to get in shape. You look great. And I let their validation dictate my actions. And now I'm at a point where I'm genuinely unhappy with how I look and how I feel and my health. And I need to do that for me, I'm not trying to get healthy and get in shape so that other people can say, wow, you look great. I'm doing it so I can look at myself and say, wow, you look great. If you look a certain way and you are happy and you are healthy, then that's fine. Like that's super, super healthy that you cannot let the way others view you dictate how you view yourself. The thing is, you cannot control what other people think about you, no matter what you do. No matter what you try to change, they will forever have a certain way to think about you. And that way can change, but you're never in control of someone else's thoughts. It's a very hard pill to swallow that there's only so much you're in control of. And when it comes to those insecurities, there are certain things. It's kind of like, if you guys ever heard of the Serenity Prayer, I don't know exactly how it goes. I've heard it a few times in my life, but give me the strength to accept the things I cannot change, the strength to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I think it's something like that, pretty much like that. But there are things about ourselves that we cannot change. I cannot change my eye color, at least not easily. And for the longest time, I always wished I had blue eyes. Whenever I saw a guy with dark hair and light eyes, I was super jealous and super envious. And that may seem like a small insecurity, but when I was in high school and junior high, it was a big deal to me. Like I said, I never had a romantic relationship, probably because of how insecure I was with everything. And that's okay, because I want to give you guys, I don't want you to feel beaten up if you feel insecure, because I mean, I was insecure for a majority of my life, and I still struggle with insecurities. I'm not going to pretend like I'm Superman or anything like that, but I found the love of my life. I'm married. We have a house. We're a family. It's really cool. So don't let where you are now overwhelm you and make you think that you're never going to be out of that insecurity, Micah. I think that's the best I can do with this. I think I shared a good amount. I hope maybe it was helpful to you, Micah, and maybe some other people listening when it comes to relationship. Don't let the fact that you have specific passions because they're nerdy to society or whatever it may be, if they're healthy, non-self-destructive habits and they're your passions, don't let someone make you feel bad about that, especially when you're looking for romance, especially when you're looking for love. The thing you want in a partner is you want someone who's going to selflessly love you as you selflessly love them. That's the way you have the healthiest relationship in my mind. We can talk more about this kind of stuff, less about insecurities and less about being a nerd and just relationship if you want to. But like I said, leave a comment down below on topics you want to hear about. I'd love to talk more like this. If you guys enjoyed this video, I'm actually just gonna genuinely ask you either leave a comment or you leave a like, just so I know that Talk to May is starting on a good spot. This was definitely a pretty deep and heavy video as far as the topic goes, but I think it's good to know that when it comes to insecurities, you're not alone. You can beat them. And when it comes to relationships, building some sort of balance in your life, knowing that your passions can't be everything and your relationship can't be everything. It's all about, just picture one of those scales, and you don't really ever want the scale like this. There are times when the scale is going to be like this and you're going to be more into your girl or your boy as opposed to your passions. You're going to be sacrificing yourself. And there's going to be times when it's like this and you're like, no, I really miss doing X, Y, and Z. And then your relationship goes down a little bit, and you kind of just have to roll with it and always have an open line of communication with that person. Make sure they're supporting you and that you're supporting them 100%. But with that though, I'm going to get the hashtag out of here. Have yourselves a fantastic day. I will see you again tomorrow for Talk to May. Please leave a comment down below and go ahead and just show some love to the other shady people as well down there. You guys are really opening up in the comments yesterday, and it's really, really cool to see. I've been reading every single comment, and it's really, really cool. So be sure to leave some more. But above all else, keep it shady.